a recording of any of this, we can do that. And then I was going to try to open my chat on the side. So I know not everybody has a microphone to chime in, but if you want to use the chat function, you can do that. I am going to move into presentation mode, and sometimes the chat box doesn't keep up. So I will try to remember to keep checking it. All right. Thank you to everybody who is attending today's scoring office hours. I am going to run through a quick set of slides just as a reminder in case you missed the training the first time, or if there's just some basic information that you are confused about. I thought these few slides will just serve as a good reminder and a quick checkpoint. So let me get started on that. Please feel free to stop me at any time with questions, or I will try to remember to stop periodically and just reach out to see if anybody has questions about that particular area. So just a quick reminder of why we're going through the scoring process. So this priority-based budgeting process answers 3 questions. What do we do? What does it cost? And why are we in business? So it takes your line item budget, we turn it into a program-based budget, or as you all refer to it, a service-based budget. And then we define those and allocate resources to those services, and then score those services to tie your services to your strategic mission. So the what do we do are your services, what does it cost, your line item costs, and then the results are those items that tie back to your strategic mission. We allocate costs, and then we apply scores to those services to create a more 3-dimensional description of those services. As far as where we are in the process, you guys are over halfway there, which is great. We do have peer review training starting on September 7th. So we'll get through department scoring over the next couple of weeks and then be ready to move into peer review, and the model completion date is just around the corner. So scoring review. Services that you all have identified and defined will tie your budget to your goals. The basic program attributes, or BPAs, that we've identified as Resource X will help with the decision-making process. And just a reminder that no service will have a perfect score across the board. And on the flip side, no service should score a 0 across the board. Here is just a 1-page image of the results and definitions that have been identified by Alexandria. The blue headers are the community result areas, where all community or external services will be scored against this area, these result areas. And the green header are the governance result areas. And so all governance or internal services will be scored against those results. The BPAs are used to help describe services. So in the instance where a service may not align with the strategic plan, but you're required to do it, or a service fully recovers its cost, it will help to make that information relevant even if something may not align as well with the strategic plan. And all of your services will be scored against the BPAs. As a reminder, we score on a scale of 0 to 4, with the idea that a 0 means that there is low alignment or little influence on achieving the overall result, and a 4 being that that service is essential to the ability to achieve that result area. Okay, like I said, that was going to be a really quick jump back into scoring. Are there any questions out there about the approach to scoring?
No questions.
Okay, great. So now I put together a few slides to walk through before we actually jump into the tools. this will just help with kind of step-by-step instructions for how to get into the scoring tools and then how to use them. So from the dashboard that you all are familiar with, we just click onto that program scores icon in the top right, and it will open up to the list of services in your user group or department. I have chosen to use the communications user group, and so that's what we'll be working with today. The first option that you have is to click on one of the bars, and it will take you into a list of result areas. And this will allow you to go through and score a list of services against one result area. The other option is to shift click and open up the score summary or score report card. And this will allow you to score one service against all of the result areas. So diving a little further into that first option, clicking into a service will open up this list that will have the corresponding result areas, depending on whether or not your service is a community or external service or a governance internal service. Then you can click and open up the score box, and you'll see the definition associated with that result area and the list of services. So this allows you to go through your list of services and score each one against that one result area. On the other side, holding down shift click, I apologize, I clicked too soon. Holding down shift click will pull up this score summary. So it's a list of the results and then the associated scores for that one service. Now, the definitions for each result are not available within this box. So in conjunction with your super users, we have created a results and definitions cheat sheet. So you'll see we have one for community results and definitions, one for governance, and then one for the basic program attributes. To use this in conjunction with that score summary, you can keep this open or print it out, keep it on your desk, and you can go through and score one service against all of the result areas that you need to score against. Again, this is the shift click to score one service against all your results. The one click in will score all of your services against one result area. Just a reminder of the resource that you have at on your own desktop, this support documentation button in the bottom left corner. When you click on that, it will open up a step-by-step user guide. So if you have any questions about what a click or a shift click will do, you can open up this support documentation and it will serve as a step-by-step guide. All right, so I'm ready to jump into the tools if that works, and then I am available for questions specific to your user group, your services, but I will just continue to show the demo unless I have something specific that somebody wants to look at.
Anything specific? Nothing so far?
Go ahead with the demo.
Okay, great. Okay, so again, we're in the communications user group. We're going to come over to the top right and click into the program scores. Sorry, I had just been in here. We're going to click into program scoring. This is the screen that will open when you click into the program scores icon. So you'll see the list of services. Again, just a click on the bar will pull up all of the associated results. So your 4 BPAs are at the top, and then all of the governance results are at the bottom. So clicking into one of those will pull up the scorecard for that particular result area. You'll see at the top in this table the definitions associated with that result. You'll see a reminder of what the scores represent, and then your list of services. So simply double click into the score, give it the appropriate score, and then any comments that you feel are helpful as we move into the peer review section of the implementation. So any data points or any rationale you have for giving the score that you gave can go into this comments field, and it will pull through onto the peer review scorecard in the future. So that's a very helpful field to fill in. Just click Save Changes, and you'll see that the bar for that particular service has moved to show that there has been some progress made. Once all of these, oh, excuse me, once all of these have been filled in, then this will all be green, and the bar over here will be green as well. Now, if we go back, if we go back to the services list and we shift click, so hold down shift and click, it will pull up this score summary. And this is where the use of your cheat sheets, which I have right here. So you can pull your cheat sheet over and go through and score your governance results, and then find the BPA and score that against the 4 BPAs at the top. Again, enter the score, enter the comment that you want to have carried through into peer review, and then click Save Scores, and it will update. The green will show that it's complete on this scorecard, and then it will also show on this bar chart. It will turn green when they are completed. Once you have made some progress, particularly for those departments that have a significant list of services, if you want to check progress, you can come over here to the Score Summary button, click on that, and you'll get a downloaded Excel summary of your services and the associated scores and comments. So if you want a quick review of everything in Excel, you can open this up and you can see your service name, the result type, and the associated scores and comments. All right. Is there anything that I missed that anybody has questions about?
No questions here.
Okay. Well, I am more than happy to be here if you all are at your computers and you're going through the process. If you stumble across any sort of issues or questions, I will be here to answer them to the best of my ability. Lisa, Morgan, and Megan, if you all have any questions or want to help lead some questions, feel free. Otherwise, we are available for discussion.
Do we have anybody who's logged in besides Megan, or do we have any way of knowing?
Yes, we have a bunch of people.
Oh, okay, good.
So, API, budget, IT, tests. Not sure who that is. That's what it is now. Oh, that one.
So I feel like I might be a little bit out of the loop. Am I supposed to have done this for the rest of it? This scoring thing?
The deadline is September 7th.
But that is something I need to do. Like go through and
Kendall came to the scoring meeting. I know she had talked to Emily, so.
but we need to score ourselves.
Yes. Yes. It sounded like she might have been working.
You're the one who's
right.
doing it herself.
Kendall's always very accommodating. Wants to do stuff, which is also the nice thing. So.
Right.
You can take it from her. She
No, I just want to make sure that we do whatever we're supposed to do. You know? Like if this fell off her desk, I just want to make sure I know that it's the thing. I don't know that. She might be done.
I guess that's one of the questions that I had is just, who in as the finance person or the person handling the budgeting aspect of, do we have our division chiefs get involved in, scoring each of their program areas, or how do you all recommend, or is there a recommendation at this point as to how to go about doing that, or should I, since I put the budget together with Kim, do we then do the scoring for the department, or how does that handle?
Yep. So I'm just going to repeat the question to make sure everybody heard it. But the question is, do you disseminate this out to division chiefs and programmatic staff, or do you handle it amongst your fiscal team or a senior leadership team on your department? There are both approaches.
I think it varies by department. You can choose to set in train. You can choose to do, the department director can say, I think I know enough about all the services that we provide that I'm just going to sit down and go through it and score them all myself. Or they may choose to farm it out to various divisions or programs, or the people who actually do the service delivery, and each have them do scoring. And then I think the critical point is each department only has one set of scores. So if you farm it out to a group of each of your divisions does it or something like that, it's still got to come up to one central level where you all agree that this is our set of scores,
Right.
and then turn it in. So, but then there's flexibility as to how the departments do it within there. And it sounds like, based on what we've heard, it varies. I know there are definitely some departments that are spreading it out. Sounds like there might be one department that the director's doing it. And some of them may depend on the size of the department as well.
And I would say that if you want to think through some of that, I'm sure, speaking with Megan Cummings and TNES, DCHS staff, Raphael, they have kind of gone and they're doing a multi-tiered approach. So they might be able to give you some thoughts and resources about how they kind of rolled that out. We're doing something similar, but I think we're a little bit smaller. So.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just trying to understand, because, I've been through all of the trainings. People who go through all of the trainings have all the information. So
Right.
You're basically sitting and saying, okay, well, I can take this based on the scoring model that they have. But when you farm it out, it's like, well, what do you share? What do you give to the individual groups, so that they can do their pieces?
Right.
So.
And all of these materials are available on our website.
Right.
So if you wanted to go back to your department and say, hey, I would like you all to participate in this, and give them the basics, and then all of these materials are available to them on the website too. And I think I would take into consideration, if I was going to do the scoring myself, how is everybody else going to feel about the scoring that I did?
Right.
So.
How do you mean that, Morgan?
Well, if you take it upon yourself to score all of your services, or maybe this may apply less to a department director, but more to if you're the admin division chief or the fiscal officer for the department. If you do the scoring on behalf of everybody in your department, are they going to be okay with the scores that you chose for your services? That's why I'm suggesting it might be good to get input in some cases.
Yeah, the solution could be preparing it and then sharing it at senior staff.
That's another alternative,
Right.
is do it yourself and then take it to the rest of your team and get their input.
I have a question about basic program attributes and reliance scoring. So how should we score a service that's already provided from a contractor? So the way the definition is the city's a sole provider, we're the sole provider, or it can be contracted by a public or private entity. What if it's our service, but it's already contracted? The example I'm thinking of is animal shelter.
Yep. So I would actually put that. Liz, could you pull up the cheat sheet for basic program attributes?
Absolutely.
And did you hear the question?
I did, about
Okay.
a service that is already being provided by another entity?
Yes.
Yes, they already made the decision to contract out in a many prior budget cycles.
Right.
So, is this the nonprofit?
This is the
Yeah.
animal shelter, which is, they're a nonprofit.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like that hits two because it's provided. I mean,
Do
are we
have-
responsible for it? Like,
Yes, we manage it.
we have to have some type of enforcement benefit.
Where would you have the animals go? Those dogs
Then I would
and
say just because.
Did we get some more questions from DCHS about contracted
thanks, John.
services?
And
And-
I have a question.
And,
Like, fee for the jail.
Which is also contracted
You
service.
know, yeah.
I think we fed that question back to,
Yeah, and Liz, you had some research that showed a lot of people were scoring them as zeros when you've already done the contracted portion.
Yes. So several cities of similar size, and I don't have the specific services that they scored this way, but many of those cities have chosen that if it is already being provided by somebody else, even if it is managed by the city, the reliance score is 0 because somebody is already taking that on. So as we get into the final steps of using the data, one of the options that we look at for reallocating resources to improve alignment as you provide services is there an option to outsource? And so if it is already outsourced, that's going to be that option will have already been taken care of. So scoring it as a 0 on the reliance will just kind of remove that discussion from the table as we get into talking about policy questions and how to take action on the data.
Cicely, was yours the same question?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same question because it's providing
Food and
medical or whatever.
Right.
At the jail,
Already
Outsourced.
contracted.
it's already contracted out, but we have. I mean, I guess I was thinking that if somebody else is doing it, then the city's not paying for it. See, that's, to me, if you're outsourcing and things, the way, because some of that, so if there's somebody else who can provide that service that we just direct to somebody else, and that's probably going to be more like social services or
Mhm.
whatever.
Right.
That we just refer people to that, city's not paying for it. So we're not saving any, whether, you might be able to outsourcing it makes some money, but contracting out, but
So, and Liz, how do you score that if it's a service that the city, if it's a city the service isn't providing, then we're not going to score it because it's not in our inventory. But if it's a civic service that could be not only not contracted out to another agency, but just discontinued by the city because another agency can or does already provide it.
So if it's already offered by an entity within your geographic region, then that would be a 0 as well. If it is if it's a private business or that would be a 0. If it's by another governmental or nonprofit agency, then that would score a 2. So that would be the difference there is if a partnership is easily accessible or you're going to discontinue offering that service because of the accessibility to other options, then I would look at the 2 or the 0.
Okay.
I think she's saying they still have to feed it.
I mean, it still doesn't make sense
So
to
it's
me
not-
because we're not gonna we are not out that, the city would just, can't just outsource it completely, just say, here, this company just come on into the jail. And
like
Right.
services.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have oversight. We're not gonna let somebody else do that. So yeah, first of all, the jail and bring the
Right.
sheriff's responsibility. That would-
Right. So I think,
So
and
the
correct me if
zero
you're
thing,
correct me if I'm wrong, Liz, but I think what this particular attribute is trying to get at is where we may be able to partner with somebody else to do this. And
Exactly.
so if it's a 4, if there's just no way we can partner with anybody else, we're the only ones who can do it. And it sounds like a 0 if either we already have contracted out, or we could just get rid of it and have somebody else provide it outside the city. And then a 2, it would be if there may be an opportunity for that service to be contracted out or partner with somebody else
What about like
with city funding.
solid waste, like trash collection? Right, like the city could sell off and be like, we don't collect trash anymore, find a private hauler.
Like we do with recycling.
So like that's
Recycling.
that's what that's
That's
like
what we
actually a 0, right? Where it's like the city's like, sorry, you're on your own.
Right.
And then you find waste management or whatever. They pick up the trash.
Right.
Okay.
But then where we have the residential refuge, that would be, I assume, 2 or 3, where there's an opportunity to privatize it, but we don't currently privatize it.
could actually privatize the entire thing. There are a lot of.
It is a mandated.
Oh, it is now, but.
Well, but then it would score high on mandate and not so much on compliance,
Yeah.
right?
So it's a 4, it's a mandate.
Right, or the community, but there are other.
Actually, now that I think of it, how did I score dash on that? If we stop funding them, they go away. There's like Metro that does like a 2.
We're not doing Metro, but
Well, I mean, no, I'm sorry. Metro offers community service.
Yeah.
Like they have Metro buses.
Right.
In the city. Besides dash.
Yeah.
So probably.
Liz, do you have anybody else who does contracts out their local bus service? I mean,
Not anybody that I have worked with individually, but I could certainly find out, from other organizations that I haven't worked with, if we have any examples of a bus service.
that'll be interesting because Dash is a city-owned
Right.
private company.
Right.
But that which contracts out for the management of transit.
Well, I understand, like, if our subsidy for Dash went away, that would have a significant reduced impact on service, and
Right.
there's a huge reliance of the city on Dash buses.
DC addressed this in my question, where they subsidize a lot of care that isn't provided directly by the city, so you could score it like here, but then is it still acceptable to
Yeah.
like a certain portion of the residents?
That's where I get confused about, like, if it's like something where it's contracted and we pay for it, and the service would be reduced, and not necessarily mixing that with stuff where it's like, we just stopped.
We got out of the business.
If we got out of the business of doing it, residents would figure out another way to get their service, and pretty easily.
Have some fun with the Reliance peer review team.
I would encourage you to think of these services.
Congratulations.
I would encourage you to think of how these services are going to score across the board. So when you think about, I think I heard one that you said it was mandated, but there are lots of people who also provide it. So just know that when you are correct, Morgan, you do have peer review to go through and validate and try to understand how you came to your score, and they're going to go back and they'll ask questions as well. But then also to think about, as we're looking at the prioritized list of services in the end, the score, a high score in mandate and a low score in reliance is going to open up certain opportunities or close off certain opportunities, whereas something that is lower in mandate and lower in reliance opens up opportunities for a partnership. So just as when you think about each one of these attributes or each one of the results, try to think about them within that particular attribute or result, and then it will all come together as we pull it all into that final cumulative score.
I think that's helpful advice, not to start blending the attributes and just focus on them one at a time. I think what we're hearing around this table is that maybe some of us, myself included, are still wrestling a little bit with just the conceptualization of the reliance
Certainly.
of measure. So I think we're just going to have to work on that a little bit to provide some more clarity to departments, and then that should set us up for the peer review team to be able to help put the finishing touches on.
Another question about basic attributes and cost recovery. What encompasses cost recovery? Is that any measure that like alleviates the cost? I've looked at the training materials and it's focused on fees, but is fundraising, for example, a cost recovery?
I would say fundraising, it's grants, fees, and I would say fundraising if it is actually occurring. If it could be covered by fundraising, but it's not currently, I would not say it's not covered.
And what about internal to the city recovered costs? I know that that's within the city, but for something like fuel management, when we're billing back Dash, which is what we just talked about, not entirely city agency, how is that scored?
Liz, what do you all do with internal services cost recovery?
So if it is, I'm formulating the proper way to state it, but if it's a service that is provided and that service could go somewhere else to accomplish what they need to accomplish, and you're still recovering costs, then it would score higher on the cost recovery. Let me pull up, in case some of you missed the BPA discussion during the original training. Let me just pull up some of those slides because it goes into much more detail there. Oops, wrong button. And I believe I have Steve on the line who may have a quicker answer for internal services and cost recovery.
Sure. I always like to say or think of it, like IT, fleet legal, if the department that is using those services, so if IT is coming over and helping me with my software or supporting my computers, if I have the choice to use the internal department, IT, or I could go out into the marketplace and choose anyone, then I think it would be fair to say that IT has cost recovery. But if you are IT or fleet or some other internal service and your budget is neutral because of the transfers on the back end to make sure that your costs are covered, then I don't believe that is necessarily tracked as cost recovery, or should be. Because if you said, hey, we're not covering our costs, we're going to increase our service, like we're going to charge the department using my IT services more, you're not generating revenue, big picture, for the whole organization, right? You're just taking it away from human resources or police or fire, or whoever's using IT services.
Well, because some of that stuff is fee-based, and that's not.
I'm thinking the answer is probably partially cost recovery, and we'll just have to figure out which number it is, because gas provided to solid waste is covered by the refuse fee. Gas provided to Dash is covered by a portion of their fares. So in schools and ASA, RHOP, so there are some that are paying for their fuel, but not 100%.
Right.
most of the money we spend on fuel is coming out of tax dollars. Even though you're charging it to departments, it's still coming out of tax dollars. But there is a portion of the fuel that is covered by fees.
So what about, so for example, we have a marshal contract.
Mhm.
It's not fee-based contract, we've got to do this through 2022.
Right.
So I'm assuming that that's considered cost recovery.
And it's roughly the equivalent of grant, right? It's not a grant, it's a contract, right? It's
Yeah.
still somebody else is
It's
paying us.
guaranteed, yeah, so any money, and so the same thing with MR,
With what?
with the compensation. You know, that, you want me to, how do you want me to cover, 'cause some of our positions are partially covered by that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I think we're only talking about grants and
Okay,
fees, not necessarily intergovernmental revenues.
okay,
They're just going to the general fund as part of our cost of. It's just basically state support of the city.
yeah, okay, so that's, I don't have to worry about that, okay. That was the only part of the cost recovery, that I was never
Right.
figured out by
Mhm.
percentage.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question about residence scoring. So, one of the definitions says that it's for level of being essential. Says the metrics measuring attainment of the goal if it's reduced by a certain percentage. Like, what are the metrics for attaining?
So everything's based on the strategic plan. So those would be the key indicators. If it's a service that you actually have metrics for, it would be that service. That's the broad definition to help. Like, I know we don't always have data for every single piece of question, item, and service that we would have in the city, but it helps.
Thank you for holding.
The overall frames the context of the overall severity of it. Like, it'd be a noticeable.
We
blip.
appreciate your patience.
I think I would rather have.
Sorry, Whitney. So yes, you don't need to necessarily demonstrate that something went down by 10%, but that we figured that would also be helpful, because I think there's some stuff that comes after that definition as well, but just helpful in that it's a noticeable, there is a very strong tie, that's why it's essential, and if this kind of disappeared, you wouldn't be able to achieve the overall strategic plan thematic goals, and you probably notice it in your key indicators.
That makes sense.
It does.
I mean,
Do you have an example?
It's like
Do you have a good
the
example?
results are the scoring is based off the strategic plan, which measures the strategic.
Well, I think where there is not data, you're just going to have to interject your own subjectivity.
Yeah, or
But using that as a guideline.
Yep.
So there might not be an indicator that says, here's the exact percentage required to achieve this result, and we would only be at 85. You might not have that ability, but you can still use your rule of thumb. I feel like if we eliminated this service, we would no longer be able to achieve 90% of that result.
and some of the, even if it's not your resident survey question, some of the resident survey questions, like, would this be something that if it disappeared, decreased, or changed, that would be noticeable by a resident, significantly noticeable by a resident or a large group of residents?
Anybody have any other questions? We got a captive audience with Resource X.
Oh, I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the non-personnel cost allocations, I hit some button that deleted all my data, like from one screen. Is there a way to recover that? Should that happen again? That is re.
Liz, do you guys do a daily backup?
Sorry, I had muted myself. We do a nightly backup. So if something like that happens, the sooner you can let us know, the sooner we can track back. If there are, we can easily, or not easily, but we can restore to the night previous. But if there are a lot of people working in the tools, then we'll just want to do some digging to find that information and just resolve it for that one overwrite. So yeah, but the sooner you can let us know that it's happened, the better. And I'm so sorry that happened.
Yes, let us know next time.
Can the chat group hear everything? Can the chat group hear everything?
I would assume so.
I don't know. Maybe they're just watching.
Mike?
I know, I just
seems like pretty good.
I just meant like if they had questions that they know at this point to ask, that's all. Or do we need to key in a message saying chat?
Oh, well, I hope they'd at least be hearing that we have. Otherwise, they haven't heard anything. Does anybody else have any questions on the remote users? If you want to type them in or share them with the larger group, if you have a mic.
I can hear you, no problems.
Thank you,
Questions
Ann.
from DPI. Thanks, Ann. Okay.
All right, Liz, I guess we can wrap it up for now since we don't have any other questions.
Great. Again, thanks so much for being here. And we've got about 2 weeks left before we dive into peer review.
And we will be offering another office hours next Thursday at 3:30. If anybody has some additional questions, if they've had more time to get in, or if you want to follow up on some of the things that we talked about today.
Yeah, particularly if you haven't dived all the way into scoring and you're going to do it after this meeting and then you start realizing, oh, wow, I have a lot of questions. We're going to do this again next week.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks.